Dan Illman, Mike Beer, race number 9 at Saratoga on Travers Saturday is the Grade 3 Waya fillies and mares going 1.5 miles on the inner turf course. Before we get to the analysis, head on over to the Saratoga handicapping shop. DRF.com/spa is where you go for PPs, picks, clocker reports, betting strategies, and all the must-have tools to win big at Saratoga. Here's the field for the Grade 3 Waya, 6-5 on the morning line for the 1. Mississippi, who has not run since the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf. If you're worried about the layoff, I guess that is a reasonable worry, although Graham Motion is one of the great layoff trainers in the game.
Yeah, he is a guy that you really don't worry about layoffs too much with. I think it's also worth pointing out, Dan, that Mississippi's been ready to run for a while now. I believe he had her entered in New York earlier in the summer, and then he had her entered again at Delaware last week or the week before that Robert G. Dick got rained off the grass.
6 another broad has entered main track only. Let's take a look at the time form U.S. pace projector. Mississippi is far from a speed horse, but I think she can stay within relatively close range of what should be a moderate to slow pace. I agree. I think Beau Belle, who is the pace setter of the River Memories, is going to be close. I think that the newly blinkered Quiet Dignity is going to be close to the pace as well. I think those two take up the running. Whether that means they're going fast or not is a completely different story.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't think that they would necessarily go fast in here, but I expect both of those horses to go forward.
Mississippi won the Glens Falls at Saratoga last year in her first start for Graham Motion in North America. She then ran well against Sister Charlie in the Flower Bowl. She got a great ride from Joel Rosario, who just followed Sister Charlie's cover, tipped out, and just wasn't good enough. She didn't run well in the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf. That was a race where there was a lot of pace. She hung back in last, and she just didn't fire in the lane. Mississippi's races in the Glens Falls and Flower Bowl kind of point her out.
Yeah, I mean, either one of those races is going to make her really, really tough in this race. There is that situation, Dan, where I feel like you sort of already alluded to it, but Rosario gave her a great ride in the Flower Bowl when he just followed Sister Charlie around there and took his shot. He also gave her a perfect trip when she won the Glens Falls. I still felt like she ran really well in the Glens Falls, but he gave her a perfect trip in there.
Beau Belle, the number 2, the expected pace setter, did set the pace in the River Memories last time out, but I really couldn't find an excuse. They went 3/4 in 16, and she was pretty much done at the 5/16, finishing a well-beaten third. She's going to need a lot to happen to win this race. She's going to need to probably run her best. She's going to need an excellent setup without a lot of pressure, and she's going to need the favorite probably to underperform.
Yeah, I thought all those things were true. I do expect her to get a good trip in this race. Other than that, I don't know if I could really talk myself into her being good enough. Maybe you want to go with the horse for course angle, Dan, because she just couldn't win a race. And then she did win twice up here last summer, sort of out of nowhere. Those races were on the Widener. This one's on the inner. But still, I don't know. Maybe she just really likes it up here. I just still couldn't talk myself into her.
Quiet Dignity, the number 3, might be a factor simply because it's first time Michael Maker. We've seen it many, many times. Maker takes a horse, stretches them out in distance, and they improve by leaps and bounds. Quiet Dignity is getting blinkers for the first time. I just watched a race at Indiana Grand last time out when she was trained by Brad Cox, and I thought all in all it was a decent trip in between horses. She swung wide in the stretch, and she kind of flattened out late.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, maybe the switch to Maker and the stretch out in distance especially is something to latch onto here. But this horse was trained by Chad Brown and by Brad Cox before that. So I don't know how much better Maker can get her.
Let's watch My Sister Nat's seasonal debut for Chad Brown in the New York Stakes. She was no match for Mean Mary, who's one of the better longer distance fillies and mares in the country and just was able to control this race from start to finish. We see My Sister Nat in the green on the outside. She tipped out. She was far behind off that pace, and she's going to run into second. She's not threatening the winner, but I thought for her first race back, it was a nice starting off point. She is a true stayer. She might need a little help up front because she is likely to be last early.
Yeah, she doesn't have any speed at all, but she really has upped her game since they stretched her out for her last 2 starts. She ran fine in that New York, I thought, last time. The Long Island at the end of last year, I think there's an argument to be made that she was best that day. If you reverse trips between her and the winner, she probably wins that race. I do think the added distance has helped this horse, and I just think she makes a lot of sense in here.
Olympic Games, stakes placed in Italy last year, has 2 runs for Christophe Clement in the States. Let's watch the River Memories Stakes. She was the beaten favorite here, Mike, and as they turn into the stretch, it looks like she is just ready to fire. She's on the outside in the orange cap. She's being very confidently ridden by Irad, and she can't get past Civil Union in the last 16th of a mile. Were you disappointed by this loss?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly like. I didn't really like her that much in this race, and thought she was going to win in the stretch. So, when she didn't get it done, I guess it was a little disappointing. Irad gave her a perfect trip in that race too, so it's not like there's any excuse to be had for her. She didn't even run well, Dan, in her stateside debut for Clermont. I didn't think that was a race that had a really good pace going on. She got a good trip into it and got out finished by a long shot with no excuse. I thought maybe stretching out or cutting back a little bit, rather. Oh no, it's the same distance of this race too. I thought she was going a little shorter. She's going a mile and a half here. I don't know. I just can't see making a case for this horse.
The pluses are it's Clermont right now, who just can't seem to do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And she does have a little bit of tactical speed, more so than the two favorites. Another broad has entered main track only. We'll move to Chad Brown's 7 Fool's Gold, who won this race last year. Just a beautiful trip against a field that you could argue, Mike, was a little weaker. I mean, Santa Monica wasn't in great form at that point. Get Explicit is okay. After that race, I wonder if Fool's Gold was kind of exposed. She got trips, but she really couldn't get it done. She is going to probably sit a great trip off the two speeds. I see a situation where she takes this over, turning for home. The question is she good enough to hold off these two solid closers? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I do feel like she can get a good trip in this race, and that could go a long way. When she won this race last year, though, not only did she get a great trip, she was in really good form at that time. And right now, she's probably not in quite as good a form. Certainly, she can do better than she did in the New York, though, I guess.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 3 Waya on Travers Saturday. I had a tough time really coming up with a strong opinion in here. I respect Mississippi, and I think she might be the most talented horse in the race. I wonder if my Sister Nat, though, with the one race and the recency, has a slight edge. I think they're both going to be charging in the lane.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, listen, this is sort of my least favorite kind of race, Dan, where, I latch on to the two favorites and just sort of can't find anybody else to go to outside of them. I went 1-4, and I just sort of expect them both to run well in you.
Mike's going Mississippi. I'm going My Sister Nat. It's the Grade 3 Waya. It's race number 9 at Saratoga on Saturday. We kick off the late pick 4 with an approximate post of 5:02 Eastern. Good luck.